Welcome to the podcast, everybody. Today in studio, we got Sujan Patel. Welcome, man.
Thanks for having me. Excited to talk to you.
Yeah. So your resume is quite impressive. I'm going to read off just some of the stuff. You were the owner of MailShake, RightInbox, Pick, Voila Norbert, WebProfits, which is a big agency. You have a wife, 3 kids, run like 5+ companies. You're invested in what, like 10+ more?
Yeah.
You drive a bunch of sweet supercars and race motorcycles. And honestly, for real, I sometimes ask myself who I'd want to be like. I don't have like a lot of role models that I necessarily want to be exactly like, but I always think like your life seems kind of ideal. Like, no joke. I've talked to some of my friends about that.
Yeah, thanks, man.
I think you're like an undercover baller most people don't know about. Yeah. So how many companies or SaaS companies do you own?
At the moment, I own five companies, and we're in the middle of selling Voila Norbert. And we have another company in that portfolio that's a competitor called Find Email. So those are one company. But yeah, so 5, we're trying to get it down to 3.
Does running that many companies suck, or is it awesome?
Oh yeah, it sucks. Yeah, it sucks. It's great on the way up. You're building and you're like hiring, and it's a lot of fun. I've been the longest company, MailShake, is 6 years now. Shortest one is 1 year. That 1 year felt like 5 years because we bought it and then COVID hit, and it was a business. It's called ZoomShift. It's called ZoomShift, and it's focused on SMBs. It's focused on SMBs, and pretty much like brick and mortar, retail, hospitals. It was like revenue just tanked. And so we got it back to break even, but it was like almost broke us.
And, do you have like a CEO of all these companies, or are you the guy?
No, it's me and my partner that do it. I don't. So there's guys like Andrew Wilkerson from like Tiny, and I know like Jonathan Siegel from Xenon Ventures. There's a few folks, ScaleWorks. There's like a couple companies out there, or a couple like micro PE or PE firms that do this where they have a CEO, and I look at the CEOs and I look at their success rate and I kind of silently judge them. But we're friends. We're all friends. And I just say like our success rate's higher. Mm-hmm. And that's because like we're doing it ourselves. Mm-hmm. And I think these size companies that we're running, they're somewhere between $500,000 on the small end to maybe $10 million on the high end. They're pretty straightforward. Like you don't need a CEO. Like I don't know what they would do differently than what I would do in the fractional time I spend on it.
And are all these companies along like the same vein? Like I believe a lot of them have to do with email, right?
Yeah. So
like MailShake,
Voila Norbert. So MailShake is sending email. Voila Norbert is kind of identifying and building your prospect list. And then RightInbox is, it would be where Boomerang would be competitors to that. So that would be kind of in your inbox, email tracking, all that stuff. And yeah, so purely like coincidence that we're doing all things email. Like I don't think my partner and I, Bob, sent off. We've not ever said like, oh, let's double down in email, right? So it's just we look at opportunities, companies we can grow. That being said, I have been doubling down in sales tech and HR tech. Those are the 2 areas and sectors I actively look at buying companies. Sales tech because we know it so well, because we have a lot of email companies now. And really, I say sales tech because that's sales. It's like email is kind of between sales and marketing tech. And when you can get into sales tech, it's a way better multiple and way higher LTV, because when you make money, like if salespeople use it and they make money, they don't want to change their habits and move away. Marketing people like myself, we're pricks. The next shiny freaking object comes along, I'm going to go try that, right? We have high expectations. We also have low dollars because we're the top of the funnel, not the bottom, not the revenue generation. So, and then HR tech is like, do you ever get rid of your payroll provider? I don't know what I use, but I don't want to really move.
Yeah, I probably had like Quicken or something.
Yeah,
that for like 17 years.
Yeah,
or something.
And everybody hates it, probably, but
once it's set up, it works.
Yeah, you just kind of do it. You click the buttons and go.
Damn, that's I have to go think about that later. That's a really interesting observation. Now, do you start all these tools yourself or do you buy them?
So we started the whole process in 2015, we started companies. We started 2, Narrow.io and MailShake. And MailShake is our biggest one. The one we started became the biggest one, but it took forever. Like it took 2.5 years of not making any money and only putting money out the door to get that to be generating money. Probably 2018 is when it started actually.
I remember when you bought it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just
Or started it. Sorry.
Started, yeah. So it was just like it's just a grind to get it going. And during that time I was like, fuck buying companies. Like this just takes forever to get them to product market fit, right? I'm not good at that. And maybe I'm not that I'm not good at that, but I think there are people who are like love building from scratch. I love growing. Like I love when like an idea has kind of got some wheels, like some legs, I guess, and putting wheels on it, right? And just kind of growing it from, maybe a few $1,000s to a few $1 million or $10-20 million, whatever. So it's just, I like growth more than I like getting an idea off the ground. And so we're, to date, we've bought a lot of companies that are maybe, at least this is our thesis. They might not be in that space at that like bucket at the exact time we bought them, but companies that are in like 5th to 10th place in a category or in a space. So
you buy like a 10th place person and they're not doing so well.
Try to get them to
The
third
CEO is
place.
probably like, I'll take a payout. And then you apply your marketing knowledge, content marketing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And then make them into 1st or 3rd place or something.
3rd place, not 1st, not 1st and 2nd. They're too expensive. Generally too hard because the funding company kick my butt. Like I can't compete, right? So like MailShake, 83 players in the space. 83. When we started, it was like 30, and we didn't even intend to build in that 30 player in that space. So we pivoted into this space. So first of all, different space than we intended. But yeah, 50 more people came through the door. So I mean, it's getting easier to build SaaS, but our biggest competitor, Outreach, second biggest sales loft, they've got $100 million in their bank account like right now. Like they close more revenue a quarter than we do a year. And I just can't beat that because they've got way more engineers and whatever. But doesn't mean there's not a way to win in that space, right? So I've got no funding. All of our companies, we buy it with mostly our own capital, or when we get outside capital, it's fairly friendly. Like the way we split it is very, very favorable for us because of our track record. That like we don't need to knock it out of the park to win. Now, don't get me wrong. Like the outcome that like these larger competitors will have will be, they'll be in the billions if they succeed. But the difference is there's no if we succeed. There will be. We are succeeding right now. My company is worth more than it was yesterday. It's worth more than it was a year ago and 5 years ago, and I won't have this $1 billion exit, but I'll have 100% ownership of it. So liquidation of a startup at Series F is like founders own like 15% max. And if you look at the math, most people who founded the company aren't actually the CEO of that company. So the founders have no control over the company they started by Series F.
And you own 100%, or you and your partner?
Yeah. We have 3 partners. Between us, we own like 95. And we have employee share.
Do you use investors to buy these companies, or you just got a chunk of cash and you pop?
We bought most of our companies with our own money, and then we started buying bigger companies with outside capital.
Is that recommended, or it's just at some point you need outside capital?
I found that it's the same amount of work to grow a company as doing $100,000 a year, as $1 million a year, as $10 million a year. Same difficulty, same amount of work for me. Different problems and harder at $10 million to go, because you want to go bigger, right? But at $10 million, you have $10 million to spend in revenue to go spend and do whatever you want. Like if I gave you $10 million and I said, you have to go build this company into a $15 million company or a $20 million company, I think
it's plausible.
I think you have enough capital to go do something. And you have a team. And so it's not all on you. At 100,000, it's all on you because you pretty much have just enough to go hire like one person. That's offshore, and it's probably going to be a dev.
So speaking of teams, how do you run all these companies? Like, I'm sure like they're relatively small. And so I'm sure there's like some employee that can like do one thing at one company at another company. Do you just have like a bunch of Indian dudes running things, or like what? Yeah. How do you?
I'm the only Indian.
You're the only outsourced Indian guy.
I'm the only outsourced Indian guy.
We're actually in Hyderabad right now.
Yeah. So it's a great question because I think we use EOS as a framework from this book called Traction by Gino Wickman. EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating System. It's similar to like scaling up that a lot of like funded startups use. like pretty much it's a system, right? Rocket Habits, I think like OKRs would be another one. Like Google uses OKRs. Pretty much you have goals. You have a goal. You have you have a target. You have some goals that can help you achieve that target, and then you have like things you're going to do to get there. Right? In EOS, it's called rocks, and every quarter you have rocks that you're trying to do. Right? Like usually 3 to 5, and even breaking down from that, each department might have like 2 or 1. And then even that, like if it's a larger company, you might have like 3 per department, and each person or like sub team has a single goal that they're like, this is what I'm going to do, and I see how it rolls into the bigger kind of goal. Anyways, my point is, when you have like 3 things to do in a quarter that are like the big things that move the needle, you end up just kind of things get like alignment gets kind of there or it doesn't, right? And if it doesn't, you like
But you have different employees for each of these companies?
Each company has a different team. We try the shared resources, kind of like a matrix organization. It works really well if all the companies are similar size, but our companies swing from the 10 million to 500,000. So like different budgets, right? And so different teams, and it worked better that way. Where we have shared resources, we do have one team that's shared resources, which is customer support. And it's a single team. Like we have dedicated like 2 people on MailShake. We have 1 person that kind of shares between 2 other companies. And so we do have people that are split between 2 companies, but most are because they're smaller and like we want to hire a full-time person so more split the load. But the great thing about this, even though you don't have the shared teams, you have the shared learnings, and that's very very powerful, and it saves us a lot of time. So let's put it this way. We try an idea and it doesn't work at ZoomShift, our smallest company, and we will never try to do that idea at any other companies because it didn't work. Maybe it didn't work for like an outlier reason, but generally speaking, ideas generally won't work at another SaaS company in B2B. So vice versa, we find some awesome channel that works really, really well, which happens more often than not. And boom, we double down. We can do it for every single company. We can go hard at it.
And do you even have an office anymore? In Austin, anywhere?
I have an office. I have 2 offices. Like they're co-working spaces.
Did you have one in like Sydney or Australia?
So the WebProfits team has an office in Sydney and then LA.
Okay, and that's an agency, so that probably has very people heavy. Right?
Yeah, agency is all people, right? I think there's about like 90 something folks between LA, with Singapore, Sydney, and there's Melbourne. Like Australia is very regional focus, so there's a lot of like handshake deals happening there, versus like obviously United States. I don't know. I've never really shaken any of my clients' hands, at even any of our agencies, unless they're like $1 million plus deals.
But so in terms of like most of your business are SaaS or all of them, but
except for the agency. Yeah.
Why do you think running an agency sucks?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I did it again. So started Single Grain. That was my first business. First successful business in 2008, 2009 or so. And I was like, screw this. 5 years in, I was like, I want to get the F out of here. 2014, sold it, walked away.
To Eric
Sue. He's grown it. He's actually done really well with it. Well, it was like he took it over, it went down, and it went back up, like way, way higher. Turns out I did a lot of stupid stuff. But that was my first business, and that's kind of why I walked away from it. I was like, I'm just tired and sold it to him. But anyways, my point is, it's a great way to make money. Okay, it's a great business to not have a job. Like, so if you can move away from your 9 to 5, consulting is a great way to get into running a business, but you're selling time for money. And really what happens is that under about $500,000 in revenue, or maybe like, let's just put it into client perspective, or actually in maybe 3 to 5 clients, $500,000 to $750K a year, you have enormous profits, like 60-70% margins. Because you only need like 1 person, 2 people to go help you with that to service 3 to 5 clients. From that point to about $10 million in annual revenue, you need a ton of infrastructure and people and specialists and like systems and whatever that have a lot of cost before you can make higher margins again. So your margins shrink. And so if you're a $2 million agency, you're probably making more money at $500,000, $600,000 a year than 2 million because of the hard costs you have.
Yeah, because a lot of people are
And
like,
cash
why don't
flow.
you start a copywriting agency? And I've actually tried that. And the problem is, so let's say I make something for you and I deliver it and you pay me $500,000 for it. Great. I made that money minus costs, but I don't get to participate in any upside you have at all.
Yeah.
So you go on to make a bunch of money with whatever we wrote you and I get nothing. So, okay, fine. I got paid for the work. But then also I feel like you have to keep getting those clients over and over and over. And let's say everyone's like, Neville's copywriting agency is amazing. It's in the front page of the New York Times, whatever. I get 100 new clients. That might actually kill the company.
Yeah.
Like the more, if you get a big inflow of money, now you have to have a ton of people and stuff, right? Have you seen that? That's a huge problem.
And so that's why you get a lot of agencies going like ebbs and flows of like growing, contracting, growing, contracting. They're generally going up in the right, generally, or hoping to. But then you get COVID and you lose 90% of your revenue.
I had a friend who worked for an agency here that's here downtown, and 90% of the revenue came from a Dell contract.
Yeah.
And one day Dell switched.
Yeah.
And they laid off 90% of their workforce just like overnight.
And that's kind of, I would say, bad on the agency to have like so much dependency on one contract. But I can tell you, like, I've had friends who've like had the Apple contract, and they're huge. And even though they've built out the rest of their agency, it was like 30-40% of the business. Even that's a huge number, right? Like that's a lot of people to build on one singular point of failure.
But if you get a lot of business, now you have to hire a lot of people.
Yeah.
If you lose a lot of business, now you have to unfortunately fire a lot of good people.
And I think the way to circumvent that is to keep growing, right? Keep growing, building the team out.
It's like a Ponzi scheme, though.
Yeah, it's a rat race. You end up in a different rat race than being an employee, right? I think it's a great business, though. Don't get me wrong, because at Single Grain, we tried and failed like 8 other businesses. I don't know the exact number, but I think it was somewhere between 8 and 11 that you would qualify as businesses. One of them worked, and my partner we spun off businesses. So he ended up like not wanting to do consulting anymore and taking 100% ownership of that. And I got the rest of my company back and say, I'm just going to do this. And his business, I don't know, I think it was doing like $600,000 or $700,000 a year. And there's a lot of JVs and like launching info products for bloggers and whatnot. So, and there was a lot of other like lead gen and affiliate companies that we launched out of Single Grain. Tried to do a lot of software companies. All of them failed because I sucked at SaaS.
That's hilarious to hear you say, because
that was
so
why
good at
I
it.
got into. That's the path. How I got to what I'm doing now. This was 2009 to 2014. We work with Airbnb, few companies that got acquired by LinkedIn, Salesforce, a popular online glasses company that I can't name.
I'm sure we have no idea who it is.
Who they are. Yeah. They'll ship you a sample of glasses and whatever. Anyways, so like all these companies were like just random startups at this time, right? And all the businesses, and there's lots of e-commerce companies that we work with. Shopify. We work with all these companies in their Series A, Series B timeframe. And what I found is the best companies were actually software companies. And so I was like, I'm just going to go do that. And so I tried and failed at all these things. And it turned out like I'm really good at marketing, but I'm really bad at the rest of the things it takes to run a SaaS company. And so I sold it and I took a job at a company called When I Work, which is one of my clients. And I was like, I'm going to go learn SaaS. I'm going to park myself for 5 years and like go through an exit or whatever, get a paycheck, and learn how to run a SaaS company. That took I lasted 2 years, but within 6 months, I started building MailShake.
Nice. So you buy all these companies, you add your marketing genius. So one thing I've noticed with most of your companies, I believe that content marketing, SEO, that's kind of like a thing y'all do for most of them, right?
Yeah.
Like I know MailShake just kind of kills it with content marketing on like the not necessarily, and you do a very good job at going after very specific keywords that move the needle, it seems.
I think that looks like that, but it's not that way.
No.
I would say we get lucky. We got lucky with MailShake, but I think more often than not, we try to build a brand using content. Yeah, I think our conversion rate's pretty bad on it, but I mean, we also, when you go after like low intent keywords that have high volume, like you shouldn't be getting.
Yeah,
10%
I did some like
conversion.
spying before, and it's like follow-up email. And
Yeah.
so I'm sure a lot of those people, because like MailShake is like literally about,
yeah.
yeah, exactly.
But there's not a lot of intent to purchase there. There are a lot of so that builds our
Follow-up email
list.
software.
Yeah, long-term value. It brings us a lot of value, like a lot of indirect. So okay. So to answer your question, content is a key part of our strategy, but that's actually channel number 2. Channel number 1 is actually word of mouth.
Oh.
And so and no one really sees this, or maybe it's not as obvious to tell either, right? Like you could see traffic growing, but
you can't track it.
It's very well. You can see, okay, more traffic comes in, but most of our traffic at all of our companies comes from branded searches.
What do you mean by branded searches?
Like the company name.
Oh, so like MailShake follow-up email.
Yeah, or just MailShake. Like our brand has more search volume than all of those software keywords combined.
Oh, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Whenever I look at certain companies and I kind of use my tools to like look at their traffic and everything,
yeah,
I'm like, wow, their Alexa rank is crazy high or low, which means high.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, damn, they're getting a lot of traffic. But then you look at their SEO and they actually have like almost no traffic. And you're like, where's all this coming from? And you're like, oh, people are specifically searching them out.
Yeah.
That's probably the best place to be in.
Exactly. And, I look at like companies like Dropbox, right? Their traffic grew like crazy, but what the heck are they ranking for? Like file sharing? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like that's not like
well, so we changed the name of our company from Copywriting Course with K's to Copywriting Course with C's recently. And we did it during a time of obviously this like a big thing going on in the world right now, and also during the election. And Google put a higher wall around transferring site traffic.
Oh, wow.
And so we got caught up in that a little bit. And so we've kind of fixed a couple. Also, we just screwed up a couple things, but we fixed them. And our traffic fell by 90%. Our search engine traffic.
Yeah.
Correction. Not direct traffic. Search engine traffic fell by 90%. Honestly, we've made more money since.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of like, well, how valuable was a lot of that traffic?
Yeah.
It was cool as a vanity metric.
Yeah.
Well,
it still works though. So like if you look at our Google Analytics or Amplitude or whatever metric analytics platform, it'll say that our blog doesn't do shit. Literally, it's meaningless numbers. If you look at our survey, when you sign up, we ask you how'd you hear about us? Our blog, because we have our blog on there, our content, and we've shifted the position up a lot, and that's like 40%. So like,
yeah. Well, also at those big numbers, like we were getting between around 10,000 average per day up to about 15,000 per day.
Yeah.
Site visits. So even if the conversion rate's low at those numbers, it's still significant. So our email signups definitely dropped.
Yeah.
But
overall, I think it's long-term value though. It's the content is a great long-term value, building your email list, building your brand. But I think I try to focus on the product and try to figure out how to make it unique. And like a big problem to solve, and I'm not saying that we're like winning at it, but like chipping away at it helps a lot. So that's what we kind of try to focus on. Hard to do when there's like 50 or 83 players in the space, like in MailShake's case.
Yeah. Have you noticed SEO change in the recent years?
Oh yeah, drastically.
I feel like this year specifically, I think there's been literally a tectonic shift. Change.
It's gotten significantly. So here's the 3 things I've seen it change. One is just way more advertisers. So Google has just allowed way more ad blocks.
You can't even see results above the fold.
So I did the math. Position 1. So this is from my B2B SaaS. Position 1 right now is worth what position 3 was worth. It used to be worth.
Wow.
So that's a magnitude of difference. I don't know that it won't be relevant to share the click-through rates, because that's really what the number is, right? The click-through rate of like position 1 used to be around 35, 40%.
Mm-hmm.
I would say now it's around 25%. So now if you're position 8, that's okay. 35 to 40% to 25, not the end of the world, but that's number 1. If you're position 8, it's like 2%, 3%.
At the end of page 2.
Yeah.
Who the hell's even on that?
Yeah. So page 2 has always been kind of worthless, right?
Yeah.
But like page 1 is now, the second half of page 1 is worthless. Now, the other part of that, so that's change number 1. Number 2 is so many blog post ranking. And this is, I predict, and it doesn't take a rocket science to predict this, but this isn't going to last forever. So there's all these blog posts of like top 10 blah, 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 right? Or whatever blog post on insert topic that's intent to purchase a software, right? So if you Google like email, how to find an email or email finder, right? Which is one of the keywords for Voila Norbert. There's all these blog posts ranking now on like email finding software. And we're listed on all of these too, obviously, but like they're ranking and now they're ranking better. And so that's so much blog content is ranking well to the point where I can write a blog post on anything and it will rank better than the actual page that's more relevant and purposeful. So Google favoring blogs versus commerce. And then the third thing is just the question boxes
they're good. Like as a consumer, I love them.
Yeah.
So it's like examples of whatever, and it's like just shows me right there without ever having to leave Google. It's kind of nice.
And then when you go back to Google, you end up seeing more relevant stuff to the stuff you clicked on.
Yeah.
Right. So what sucks about that is it's becoming more like Facebook, meaning your circle of influence determines your information you get. Right. So like if you're like a super right wing coronavirus is fake, I think that's right wing. Yeah. Like doesn't exist. All you're going to see is that on Facebook, right? Your friends are doing that. You're going to click on it. So you're going to see more of that news. But that's getting to Google now. If you accidentally click on a search result from a blog, a site that has a lot more crappy content or a lot more good content, the more you will see that more often in Google's own
the results.
Yeah.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
You go back from page whatever search result you go to, go back, and it'll tell you more suggested searches or suggested articles, and you'll notice the URLs around it change too.
I mean, I know it does that forever for locales. So if you're in Austin and type in plumber, it won't show you Philadelphia plumbers. It'll show you some
But it's getting way more personalized. But which is a good thing too, because there's a lot of crap that's rolled out.
Yeah.
But I feel like they've passed this line of like, F you, I'm just gonna make money. Right.
Yeah, I almost feel like the fact that Google doesn't. I mean, I love Google. I use Google for everything. I pay them the most money. But at the same time, the search results are getting to the point where I'm confused by them, and I'm on the internet for 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
And so when I type in like Bank of America and it shows me an ad for Chase, like I rely on it to show me the right site. So I click on it for my banking information, and I'm just like, wait, now I have to like wade through a bunch of ads before I see it. That is a little bit weird. And then they've kind of taken away the green ad box. Yeah, it used to be on the side, and now you're just kind of like, wait, which one's an ad?
Yeah, and then like very subtle.
Companies like
now
Alibaba in China, like for years, they don't even mention that it's an ad.
Yeah,
they just put it as a result.
Wow.
So I don't know if we'll ever get to that totally.
Yeah,
but it doesn't seem that far off compared to what they're doing now. So so SEO's changed quite a bit. Do you place any importance on videos?
Absolutely. I love video. I would say it has like 5-to-1 impact than written content does.
Meaning it has 5 times as much?
In mind share. So a video content is worth 5x mind share than a written piece of content.
Wow.
And the reason for that is partly because, and this is my view, partly because, well, people on freaking Snapchat, not so much anymore, TikTok, whatever, they're watching videos. That's their more common way of consuming. It always has been with TV, but with the transformation of the internet, well, there was no video as much video before, so they read stuff, right? Yeah. You read like your favorite magazine or your favorite whatever blog, right? Or publication or your favorite newsletter or whatever, right? Now you just can watch videos on stuff, right?
But it's so much better. If I'm looking up how to fix a pipe or something at my place.
So much better.
Yeah, I watch a video. I'm not going to read an article.
I know.
Screw that.
Exactly. So to the point where you go to YouTube or you go to you try to find more video.
Yeah.
And so I think the mind share you have, and then the other part of this is listening to your voice, reading, you become more trustworthy, right? I've been watching a lot more Noah's stuff, and it's good. I'm like, damn, I got to watch Noah's next video. It's just I know I would never say that about his blog posts. Not that they weren't good. I would say his blog posts are just as good as his video. It's just every time I watch a video, it's just I need.
Well, try to think about it in the human machine. Right now, we're communicating with video, right? I'm looking at you. I can see you. I have audio. That's how we transmit information.
Yeah.
Whereas text, if you show a video of a sad person to some African tribe that's never spoken English or seen anyone else, they'll know that, oh, that's a sad person.
Yeah.
But if you show them like this person is sad in English, they'd be like, what? I don't know what that means.
Everyone can see visuals, and I
Like
think
a baby can understand it.
Yeah, and you get the emotional connection a lot more, right? So you get that, and think audio is also a level up between content, right, above content, but I think content is still the best way to get discovery because of Google, right? Because it's so easy. At some point that will change, but by that time, the people who have dominant content can create video. It's very easy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of making everything all the above, right? So if you make a blog post, you can now read it out. Now it's a video.
Yeah. And
if you have images inside of that blog post, well, you can put them in the video.
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of doing that. But there is something magical about video versus, like you remember a video, you rarely remember an article.
Yeah.
I remember certain articles like from like Wait But Why.
Yeah.
Like some like really good pieces.
Yeah.
They're just masterful. But then I remember almost every video.
Because the people are still like, they're still stuck to like the person who like, it's an individual who like provides that information to you, right? Like you go to X for the news. You go to like, I go to whatever to, I go on Slack to communicate with my employees. Like I use this one thing to go to talk to these folks. I think people are still anchored to the older. There's X for Y.
What importance do you place on social media?
I think it's it's the megaphone for the brand, the content, what have you. But I think it's very, very indirect value, very little to no direct value, right? But with the right I think it's great when you have a good mix of content and a marketing strategy. So it's a great way to amplify stuff, right? So take your best content, split it up into videos, bite-sized slides, right? Like LinkedIn has been becoming more of a social network than the job board, and they've promoted their internal products the most, right? They're copying a lot of features, but they have the newsletter. The newsletter, LinkedIn's a newsletter, which is a new thing, is becoming the thing that they promote the most. I remember writing blog posts on LinkedIn. It was called LinkedIn Pulse. I don't know if it's still called that. But like I would write the same blog post I write on my own site, and this thing would get like 10,000 views.
At the time.
It pushed it. Like so, but that being said, once you build up your audience, when you use social networks, you build up an audience. Once you build up that audience over time, which is really consistency, getting into the platform early and spending, just sharing good content and engaging if you can, you end up building an audience there. You minimize the reliance on Google over time, and you get people coming directly from there. And you again, it's that sphere or like circle of influence, right? People get, especially on LinkedIn, you get tagged into stuff and it just kind of gives you more and more exposure. So MailShake sells to salespeople. Salespeople hang out mostly on LinkedIn. We need to be there or else we're not going to be on the best community for salespeople.
Now, are you posting stuff on LinkedIn? So social media is inherently social, meaning like there's a person, there's a Sujan attached to it. Or do you have like a MailShake account, like a MailShake logo?
Both. The brand doesn't nearly do as well as the person.
Because it's a brand, it's not a person.
Right. My profile will get way more, but part of that is also that I've been active for much longer, right?
Well, Pep Laja said that about Conversion XL.
Yeah.
They have some Conversion XL Twitter that no one in history reads, but Pep's, a lot of people.
Exactly. Yeah. But that's because Pep is Conversion XL. Conversion XL is not Pep.
Well, like I don't follow, like, look, I love Apple.
Yeah.
But I don't follow any of their shit. Like I gotta follow.
I must watch their how it's made video.
It's like they pop up on YouTube and stuff, but I don't like really follow Apple. Like I don't want to hear their updates on Twitter and stuff necessarily.
Yeah.
But I love Apple. Like I loved Steve Jobs.
Yeah. It's the influencer, not always the brand. I think both, right? There's some people where that brand just connects, right? I think the brand connects on the product, right? Like I know. Well, I don't know. I was gonna say Pep's example, but I'm like, well. I go to Pep's conferences and, I'll buy stuff from him because I know he's behind it.
I will say though, now that I'm thinking about it, I do follow a couple of brands on Twitter and LinkedIn and all that kind of stuff, and it's the softwares that I use the most.
Yeah.
And whenever they put out, they're like, "Hey, in our version 4.5, we came up with this feature." I'm like, I want to use that feature right away.
Yeah.
So I do follow them for that.
But once you get to that point, that I think brands, let's put it this way, brands is good for post conversion and like community and engagement after you're familiar with the brand. People are much better. The influencer is much better for like discovery phase of things, because you follow people, you trust people more than you do whatever a brand.
Okay. So so we talked about video, social media, content, all that kind of stuff, but still, I think like the big daddy of them all is still email.
Yeah.
I mean, if I don't know how I'd make money without an email list. I'm not sure that I really could.
That's true.
And a lot of the companies I'm invested in, their email list is the star of the show. That's the star of the show.
Or their business, right?
I mean, that's how they make all their money, through emails. It's kind of wild. And of course, I'm in a little bit of a bubble, but that's fine. But why are emails still so powerful? It still seems to be the backbone of like every company.
Because that's the thing people do the most, right? So if you look at how much time people spend on the internet, right? Or on any, like the average blue collar, or I guess white collar employee or person who uses a computer, they spend a significant, I'd argue with the most significant amount of time on email, responding to people, emailing out people, communicating with their team, what have you. So that has just the most mind share. It's like you Google something, but like in your email, you just happen to see it, right? But that being said, as the workflows, as like things like Slack and Microsoft Teams become more prevalent, it'll shift more towards that, to where like now my email, I only check email a couple times a day because I know it's not anyone from my team. My team won't email me. They'll Slack me. If I get an email from my team, it's like, it's either an HR reason, I missed their Slack information and they know I'm out of town or something like that, or it's like I need to sign something that, needs to be in an email.
I honestly think I remember a lot of marketers were really pissed about the promotions tab and stuff in Gmail.
Yeah.
But dude, that is the only way I can operate.
Yeah. It's so much.
They're like, I get so many notifications. Look, Express is having a sale for 25% off. And I'm like, I don't have time for this.
Yeah. It's so much annoying.
And it just automatically sorts it for me. It's amazing. So now email is like actually even more important or usable because of all that stuff. Now you obviously run a pretty big company called MailShake. That it's basically like, how do you even explain Mail? Like a sales autoresponder kind of?
Yeah,
like a
so
follow-up
you can build like
program?
a sales sequence. So you can send like a automated follow-up based off of, if they open this, then like follow up with this email. If they don't open, you can wait, drip them.
And we recommend so many salespeople to MailShake for their cold emails. So we'll help them write a cold email specific for them and then upload it to MailShake for them. Have you seen cold emails kind of change or anything over the years, or what do you notice there?
No, I think they've still been around. What people say, how people should structure them, I think my recommendations have still been fairly similar, right? Which the general principle is keep it short, provide value, and follow up with value, right? And make it have a clear call to action. So like almost, I think I used I got a lot of this stuff, by the way, when we started MailShake from your copywriting course.
Yeah, we're talking about it.
Yeah, and it's just great. Like we use the,
Ada.
And, Ada. Oh, yeah, there you go. Ada, the Ada model, where attention, interest, was it desire, and but the big thing is like email is like writing ad copy. It's like writing any type of copy. Keep it short. Keep it like very clear to the point, scannable. I think when you think about value, the value is not like, hey, how can my XYZ company help you? It's more the other way around. How can I, as the person I'm being sold to, get any value from you? Like, what is the value you're providing? Are you solving a problem of mine that I don't know exists yet? What is it, right? And kind of figure that out. So I think templates are great for exactly that, right? You start with a template and then you can modify it to stick within that mold. But I think the biggest failure in cold email is that most people just ramble on for a while. It's not very clear what they want. there's too many questions. Like
They give me an assignment rather
Yeah,
than
like- yeah, like, and then, or they ask for something stupid, like, can we get a cup of coffee tomorrow? Or like, jump on a call, right? I'm like, 15 minutes of my time is the most expensive thing you're asking for. So I always tell people, because we do a lot of campaign reviews and feedback, I always tell people, like, keep your ask, the lower the friction the ask, the more likely you're going to get a yes, or at least you're not going to get a no. And you're going to get them to engage, right? Again, you don't ask someone to marry you before you go on a date. A cold email should be get that first date, right? It's like meeting a woman at the bar and try to get their phone number. That's what a cold email is.
Nice. Or go to India and just get arranged marriage. There you go.
Yeah, that's what a bad cold email would be, I guess.
Well, so it's kind of one more note on that. Eamon, who's actually going to be in here next week, CEO of AppSumo, he has the greatest cold email pitch I've ever seen. They obviously pitch software companies to put on AppSumo platform. And he goes, hey, we have 750,000 people that you want to use their name service in.
Yeah.
And then dash Eamon.
Yeah.
And like it works all the time. And that's
simple.
a social proof. Like 750,000 power users. Hell yeah, I want to be in on this. Yeah, of course.
Exactly. AppSumo is a powerhouse of like of folks. So like if what do people want? 750,000 possible customers who have bought software in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course. Great.
Exactly.
Great.
It's amazing. Let's talk about so like blogging. So SujanPatel.com generates like over $1 million a year in revenue. Is that right?
Yep.
And it's like this. I don't think this is a site you like put a lot of effort into.
I put the least effort into it, and I feel so bad.
Where does that revenue come from? How do you make $1 million on a blog that you don't pay a lot of attention to?
It comes from, well, how I generate revenue from it is consulting clients. So it's $1 million in revenue in consulting clients from that.
Like, so revenue
Leads.
that you're doing, like you're hopping on a call or your agency or something?
For WebProfits, yeah.
Okay. So people are like, hey, Sujan, I've seen you talk on the internet. You seem really smart.
Yeah.
How does my company go from 500,000 to $1 million?
Exactly.
And
Yeah, so we get, I don't know, somewhere between 20 to 50 leads a month, and we close X amount of them, what have you. Now, keep in mind, our average retainer is about like 100K a year. So we only need 10 deals a year. So that's about less than one a month. That usually we close more than one a month from that, but it's less than one a month that we need to make at least $1 million.
this is kind of the model that Neil Patel does also, right?
Yeah.
Like he would have his big blog. People are like, how does he even make money? He doesn't sell anything. It's like,
Yeah.
the leads go to Single Grain or whoever it was.
Yeah,
Whatever.
exactly.
If you were a newbie on the internet, would you start a blog today or like just an Instagram or a Twitter?
Blog for sure. Own it.
Because you own it.
Own it, yeah.
You own
You
the
have
asset.
to. You own the asset. Own the website.
But you'd also have the Twitter and the Instagram.
Yeah, do all the same stuff.
But you just put all that crap there.
So like I would make the website the core, and then the Instagram and Twitter or whatever other social profiles, reflections or like micro versions of the blog, right? So like I think Eric Sue does a really good job of this. So he's got Single Grain, he's got this, leveling up. He's got a lot of content on this owned content. On the social networks, he'll post like Instagram bite-sized slides where he'll be like 10, like how to do 10 things, whatever, right? And it'll be 11 images that you swipe through, right? So that kind of stuff. That is geared towards specifically Instagram. It won't work the same on Twitter, right? On Twitter, you want probably 10 different tweets with one image, but like more context in the text, right? So, but it's all one blog post, right? So here's the part about what I love about social media and like why I like creating the content. The creative genius can create the idea. You should own that. Any dummy can take that and turn it into social media related outlets, right? It's very straightforward, and each channel needs its own kind of version of it, right? So I always like to own it because guess what? It will so I've learned about marketing from doing this for 17 years now. Everything dies. Every great idea becomes a crappy idea. It stops working and then becomes the spam idea, right?
It's like a Facebook group is awesome when they're starting it.
Yeah.
And now like, you don't really get much reach.
Right. Facebook TV, Facebook, I don't know, you just like Reels, Instagram Reels, right? Awesome, right? Because it's trying to compete with TikTok. Well, guess what? In like 2 more years, something else
Jig is
pick up that Instagram shopping is amazing, right? I remember 2-3 years ago, I would tell folks, and we had the best results for B2B SaaS, doing Instagram ads. So obviously mobile only, right? But the reason for that, and Instagram story ads were the freaking dirt cheap, best CPA and best CAC. I could get customers for under $100 that on Google would cost me about $800. So 1/8 the price because the CPCs were low and it's stories where people are flocking towards. And that's like so in your face ad, right? You like, okay, Google ad on the search results, it's prevalent, but there's some value there. On Instagram, the ad is just in your face. And sometimes you can't tell, right, between an ad and a real.
Yeah.
And I find those to be the best ads because that's an advertiser or a brand molding to the content, the medium, not the other way around, right? Like if you are advertising a Toyota Prius on TV, yeah, do your little crappy video of somebody driving a Toyota Prius. But on Instagram, it should just be like a mom driving a kid around, and if you're targeting at moms, right?
So whenever you see a new platform like something like TikTok, which is obviously getting really big right now at this moment in history, do you say to all your companies like, oh, we should start a TikTok account and start putting stuff on there? Like, how do you think about that?
I'm pretty much like I'm like in the adoption scale. I'm not the like super early adopter. I'm the one right after that.
So you let the 16-year-olds figure it out, and then you jump in when the marketers.
Yeah, because I've spent a lot of time on what's that did Pinterest. That was worked really well for a while, and it worked really well because of SEO traffic, not because of freaking Pinterest.
Oh,
it would rank really easily, and you can just it'd be more secondary SEO. What's the one Periscope that got acquired by Twitter, right? Vine. What happened to all the Vine influencers? Yeah, they're now on TikTok, 10 years later, but whatever, like that platform died. So I'm not usually jumping in on platforms super early. It definitely works if you've got a lot of content, if you've got I just always try to focus, and this is how I'm able to run multiple companies, kind of going back to the first question you asked me, is that I don't waste my time on stuff that doesn't move the needle, right? And sure, it's an opportunity, but like I only look at the 4 or 5 things I can do to move the mountain and not like throw rocks around.
Nice. Let's talk about making $1 million, everyone's favorite thing. Besides just waiting for the Fed to print a bunch of money, then we all become millionaires, even though we're poor. Let's say Sujan Patel goes broke. You need to make $1 million in the next year or two. What would you do? Start a SaaS, sell a product, start an agency? What would you do?
I would start a consulting business again, an agency.
Oh, interesting.
I would keep it very small, boutique. I would try to focus on getting 3-4 clients that would pay me $10,000, $20,000 a month.
And like, what are you doing for that $20,000 a month? Are you
marketing and growth for them?
Like, what does that mean? Emails, web pages, what?
Like how to get the customers. So I think what I figured out, what I'm really good at is getting customers. And what that turns into is, okay, you need traffic, you need a brand, you need to figure out the messaging. There's a lot of things, right? Demand generation really comes down to it, right? So I'll either help large companies figure out how to be doing more savvy growth initiatives that some of the smaller startups or smaller companies have been doing, or work with maybe Series A, Series B companies as maybe an interim CMO or part-time CMO, or just kind of build out their growth department. It's a good temp job that you're getting out of. And what I would do is just build my team out. So like, I'm going to be here for a year, 2 years. So enter on your terms, leave on your terms, right? Well, when you enter, leave on your terms. Set the date so you're like not guessing when you're going to when the client's going to let you go, so that you know when your pipeline is full and when you need to get more customers. Anyways, I would do that, but that's not how I would make money. That's how I would generate revenue so I can funnel into something I actually can generate $1 million. And that would not be SaaS. I would not start something because SaaS, and did you say a year or is that just time?
Year or two, rough time for
it just wouldn't be fast enough. It's just hard to build SaaS without lots of money because you need customers, right? I also don't think I have the skill set to go build something so innovative that I could launch out the gate to get $1 million by the end of year 1 or year 2, right? Not to mention it takes time to go build something, right? I'm sure I could get that to maybe $500K, but not $1 million. right? And a cheat would be I can get my agency 500K and my SaaS to 500K. But I would actually just go promote other people's products that I really back, and I would get a ownership of the company. I'd do what I call the 50 cent move, right? I think it was vitamin water that he owned a portion of. He made so much money off that deal when they sold to Coca-Cola, right? He made most of his fortune early on, I believe, with that deal. Yeah. I think maybe I'm just saying this because it's 50 Cent. I think he made $50 million on that deal, but I don't know exactly.
I know they sold it for like $400 million. Yeah. Because I don't know how much he owned, but yeah.
He owned more than 10%.
But I think that's most people. Like, so with most of the rich people in your life, I think they make most of their money on like a few things, maybe like one or two things. I think even Shaquille O'Neal, like he early on invested in Google. Yeah. And that's paid off probably more than all his earnings combined. Yeah. So it's kind of like, it's interesting. It's like a 90-10 rule or something like
Magic Johnson owns a lot of fat burgers.
Like the little chain?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
And he makes a lot of money doing that. Right. So like after he was done playing basketball, right? Yeah. And like after he's done like being in the NBA related to anything, right? So my point is I'd actually go, instead of building something, I'd actually go back a product I really love. I'd go maybe make a Sujan branded product version, whatever, like, or just promote the heck out of that thing, right? And again, get equity in it. And the reason for that is if there's a product that's working, let's just say this hypothetical company was Salesforce. I know Salesforce has a business model that can make $1 million that I could say I need to drive X amount of visitors to get to that Y amount of leads to get to Z amount of revenue, right? That's way easier than building that and then trying to figure all that out, right? So again, if the time crunch was there, I don't think that's not the best long-term value. I think ultimately building something of your own, whether it's e-commerce, SaaS, whatever, owning an email list and monetizing it that way, whatever, is the long-term how you generate wealth. But I think the shortest way to get to $1 million a year or $1 million would be through promoting someone else's product and getting equity or revenue share.
Interesting. Yeah, I've seen a lot of successful like course creators that still sell like a standard course, but to larger companies. And it's just like how to use Excel. Yeah. Like how to use the basics of Excel. I'm just like, this is not innovative at all, but it's like, oh yeah, every company ever uses Excel. Yeah. And their employees sometimes don't know how. Yeah. They buy lots of licenses of these.
I can't tell you how many like Excel widgets and templates and crap I've bought to save me time. Like I probably spent like, I don't know, $1,000 on Excel templates in the last 24 months.
I know a guy named Ben Collins who runs like Collins Institute. He had benlcollins.com or something like that. And he just does Google spreadsheets. That's all he does. And he's like the king of that. Yeah. And all these companies will buy his training. And he's like a good teacher about it. And then he also sells templates. And he's built a whole company based off of just spreadsheets. Like Google spreadsheets.
I believe Excel is the competitor to every single software company. Yeah. Right? Before there's a CRM, you're using some sort of spreadsheet, Excel interface on a database on the back end, right? Something. And it was shitty. And it was hard to find stuff. And they made a UI on
good
top.
Good UI,
yeah. On top of a database. Probably this could have been the same one. And boom. But yeah, Excel, like at Zoom Shift, that's HR. So scheduling software, people work a barista, right? When they have to show up for work, right? Companies like that, even hospitals, doctors, call centers, all these types of companies have hourly workers. The biggest competitor we have is not 20 other competitors in the space. I think it's 32 competitors in the space. It's freaking Microsoft Excel. It's pen and paper. Literally 90% of new customers that come through the door. And I'm not just saying this because of our company. I actually work for one of the competitors is the largest company in the space, and they get 30,000 new trials a month. Same freaking deal. Most people are switching over from nothing. So spreadsheets and Excel is their thing, to the point where a template is actually the best funnel to get them into purchasing our software. So we get them to use a branded template that we design that's actually good. We make it importable to our software, meaning you can upload it and it'll work. Like our software then just be set up. So it's one click, pretty much upsell to our software essentially, or upload, and then just get them to use a template. And
I think Airtable does that.
yeah,
Airtable just made like a prettier Google Doc.
Yeah.
Or Excel.
Google
and,
spreadsheet. Yeah.
And it completely works.
Yeah. And then they have this referral program, right? Of whatever, I don't know, $10 for whatever, which is smart. Like if Airtable is actually pulling that off I doubt the CAC is actually good for a paying customer, but they're so well funded it doesn't matter. Like they just need market
Well,
share.
I did some research into them a while ago for a Hustle Trends kind of thing when it was called Hustle Jobs. We were looking at I was like, Airtable, what is this? And it was like Tesla was using them in their like Fremont factory.
Yeah.
It's like a glorified, it's literally a prettier Excel sheet.
Yeah.
That's all it is. And it can track so much more stuff. It's pretty interesting.
And you can build a lot more forms. It's just more functional. Yeah.
Okay. So that's an interesting way that you would make. I thought you were just going to say you would build a software product for some reason.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Too hard. It takes too long.
What about, it sounds like you have gone to like the next level. Like I feel like there's a lot of people like in the little marketing world, they start off with SEO, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like you've gone to like the step above that. I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah, I think that wasn't well, thank you. That is actually what I've been intending to do all these years.
Yeah.
So I started off as like a peon link builder, SEO, right?
Mhm.
And I was like, got to the top of SEO. Not in the like not that like I'm the best SEO, but I'm like, I went to become an SEO manager. And the next level up was like, I don't know, a director. And the next level up was like, I don't know, senior director. But like there was no VP of SEO. That was not a thing.
Yeah.
It was marketing. So I was like, oh, I need to go broad. I need to get breadth. Good thing is SEO is fucking hard, and you really have to just do all things marketing to do SEO nowadays. And over time, I learned all the other parts of marketing to be able to do that. And so now, like, marketing has a cap too. Like, what am I going to be, the CMO of something? Actually, interviewed for a job at some bank, Union Bank. I think it's called Union Bank in LA. And the CMO was making, I don't know, like $300,000, $350 maybe, with like another $100K they can make. So I'm like, that's it? That's all salary?
Ceiling.
That's it? Like, and I have no degree. So like there's unlikely I'm going to get that job at a financial institute to have no degree. It's just, they're not going to, this was like 2010 or 9. There's just no way I'm going to get that job, first of all, even though they approach me, say, I'm not going to make it against their MBA, the other people that are interviewing for the job. And I'm like, there's just no way. So I'm like, where can I go to make my ceiling better? Right. And I was like, I come from a very like, middle class, lower middle class Indian family from India, so I never dreamed or dreamt big enough. So that was that's kind of my problem. I would say I've been trying to like solve that, or like try to think big, but achievable. Not like I want to go to space tomorrow. It's just not going to happen, right? Not that stupid, I guess. But anyways, my point is, so I just kept thinking of like, how can I raise my ceiling? And so I was like, oh, I'm the marketing head. Okay, that's only going to get me so far. I run an agency. Okay, I can do this same thing for multiple people and charge them all what I'm getting paid. That's an agency. And I was like, oh, the agency is great, but like, look, what if I just did what one of my clients is doing? That's a software company. And so I was just like, well, I could do like 5 software companies. I can do this same thing. I know how to do it. If I just build the team, I just do it 5 times over. And so I'm trying to get bigger and bigger, and just kind of, I guess, really more of a bottoms-up approach. I don't have problem is I don't have like I want to do this and that and achieve Y,
Mm-hmm.
Partly because, I don't know, I've already kind of got everything I want and need. Like everything else is just like icing on the cake.
How many McLarens do you need, bro? You already have enough like cool supercars.
Although I could use one more. There's this joke, there's this meme of like, that I find hilarious, but it's completely demeaning to employees. It's like a guy talking to an employee like, hey, if you work a little harder this year, I can buy another one of these cars.
What do you think a lot of people like going to that next level? Is it just like is it usually like a broop, or is it just like a slow?
I think it's slow, and then what people don't account for is the plateaus. So I plateaued many, many times. I think, and I've like actually interviewed or and like really did a lot of research talking to other successful folks, and like, hey, like walk me through your career. Like when was it just like all growth, not about their wealth, but about their growth personally? And everybody has a plateau, right? And so I just try to be, I think simple thing is I try to be the dumbest person in the room, or be around people who have skills, right? Or talents, or something like special about them. Like for you, I think I'm always gravitating towards you because you're freaking always happy. Being around you makes me happier and like scrappier, right? And I don't know that that's how you would think of yourself, or I wouldn't describe you that way, but that's how just hanging out and grabbing coffee or a drink with you leaves me at the end of that
thank you.
session. So it's like, if I want to go make more money, how do I go hang out with like more people who can get me more money minded, right? So I just try to hang out with folks that are smarter than me.
Well, that's always been, I think it's always been a problem of mine. I grew up in a pretty loving household.
Yeah.
Like I realized like later, when you grow older, you realize like, damn, I had a good childhood compared to everyone else. And so I'm very content in life.
Yeah.
But that's actually a little bit of a dangerous place to be in sometimes because I'm like, my life's pretty good. I don't need to go anywhere else.
Yeah.
And so I have a lot of friends that are a little bit crazier than me. And I mean it in an endearing way, like Sam Parr and Noah are some of my best friends in the world. And they're just far more neurotic. I don't know how else to put it, but they worry more.
Yeah.
They're worried. They're a little bit more curious and it comes from a place of, I don't know, maybe fear or like not feeling good enough or something like that.
Or just like curiosity, right? Or like, let's just try it and see what happens.
Well, like Noah's like, we always joke, he's just a neurotic Jew. And it's just how he is. And here's the thing. People associate that with a bad thing, but that also means that he's going to be extraordinarily successful.
Yeah.
Because he is willing to just hammer.
Mm-hmm.
Someone like me is like, oh, I'm pretty good.
Yeah.
Fine. So I have to hang around people like that.
Yeah.
And ironically, I'm almost like their pet therapy dog. Someone actually once said that. We were at HustleCon and the CEO, Adam, was just like, he was like, Neville, dude, whenever Sam hangs around you, like he's calm. And when you leave, he's like really neurotic. He's like, hilarious. I don't mean this in a bad way. You're kind of like his therapy dog.
That's hilarious.
I was like, that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm more happy than
you're
sad.
And that's, I find it doesn't have to be that way. I find when you are trying to grow something big or do something, solve a big problem, like I can tell you Elon Musk is probably the most stressed out fucking person in the world. He's got so many companies trying to go to Mars, right? Like that's a big freaking problem. And for like in a feasible amount of money and charge money for it at some point, right? And colonize it and all this crazy stuff. But like versus me, I'm like way more happy. Like,
this might be a weird question. Is what do you see of someone like me going to the next level? What's the prevention? Or what do you see as the block?
I think you have to keep pushing yourself to like learn new skills or do more things. I think before we jumped on this, we were talking about, Bitcoin and alternative kind of, I guess, like coins. I don't know. Yeah, like it's just curiosity, pushing yourself and kind of getting past that hump. Again, doesn't necessarily going to mean it's going to make you happier. It probably will make you it'll make you less happy. Yeah. So I don't know. I always find that entrepreneurship is a really funny one because you work your ass off to make a lot of money so you could do.
And the punchline is you die.
Hang out. And then
you just die in a few years.
Yeah. But like you could have done that by being a bum,
Yeah.
So I don't know. People have to kind of find their why or whatever. And I don't even know my why. I'll be honest. I just go in a room with smart people and ask them what their whys. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. I want to do that.
Yeah.
That sounds cool. I want to do that. Right. Like, I just literally I absorb the energy of the room, or like I learn from others really, really well. I'm not one who's like, I want to climb Mount Everest because that's been my childhood dream. But like I hung out with an entrepreneur who climbed Mount Everest. I'm like, well, if that guy can do it, I can do it. Then I literally thought of that. I was like, I can do that.
I just like hanging out with people that are like super neurotic to a degree because I feel like I learn everything from every part of the spectrum. I like the people that are just like crazy and have to just work. And then there's the people that are the Rasta guy on the beach. It's just like, whatever, man, just chill and enjoy your life. And I'm like, I'm not that chill.
Yeah.
I'm not that driven though.
Yeah.
I think I'm somewhere in that little sweet spot over there, which honestly
wasn't that bad.
Pretty good to me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I want to have a good time in life. And then at 85, I'm going to kill myself. So that's, that's my thing. November 17th, 2067.
There you go. Yeah.
I'm done, man. You're invited to the party. All right. So let's quickly talk about life stuff. You're kind of a baller. You drive all these cool things, and you always have like the newest, coolest, latest, dumbest car in the world, and then you drive like super bikes and stuff on the track all the time. How come you've never gone like full Ty Lopez and just started bragging about that stuff more?
I think it's just douchey. Yeah, we were just making fun of my VP of marketing at MailShake, and I was just making fun of Ty Lopez this morning about like this, like, I mean,
it works.
I'm sure he's a great guy.
Yeah.
But I just feel like it's douchey.
I'm not knocking Ty Lopez, by the way. It's just
No, I mean, I am. Like, it's just douchey. Like, cool. If you want to be doing that, that's great, right? Like, so Ty Lopez versus Gary Vee. Gary Vee is sharing content. Like, you could argue they're both douchey and they're both neurotic. Like, they have the same, very similar criteria when you look at it from the outside perspective. But Gary Vee leads with value. And Ty Lopez leads with this dream that you could have a Lamborghini and a garage full of books. I don't know. I like to keep my books in my office, you know?
yeah.
Or on my Kindle or whatever. So I don't know. I just don't like bragging about stuff. And honestly, I do share stuff on social media and whatnot. But like after a while, it gets old, right? And the other part of this is like I try to be aware of like I don't like cars or motorcycles because it's an amazing car. Obviously, they look amazing. They're like great to drive, whatever. I like doing it for the function of driving and going 120 or 50 miles, 170 miles an hour, right? That is fun to me. The bike gets me there. I like the newest and latest bike because it got a little faster. It got this bell and whistle on like some other thing that like I've been working on or whatever. But what I really like about cars is that I can go really fast in them and I can drive them. And I like driving cars, but I like talking about cars.
So also on the life thing, so how do you juggle the dad thing? Like you have a wife and 3 kids and then you also run like 5 companies and invested in $1 billion and you create content and videos and have time to do all this kind of stuff. How do you juggle all that?
Well, I think it's like if you say that in a paragraph, it sounds like a lot of stuff, right? But it didn't come that way, right?
It does sound like a lot of stuff.
It is a lot of stuff. But I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, how the heck did I get stuff done, right? So first of all, it stacks up over time, right? So like I was a single guy doing work, and then I was married, and then I figured that out, and then we had a long time before kids, and I built a bunch of businesses and failed a bunch of times and a lot of things, and I got one, and then we had kids, and then I was like, okay, now my only thing is I know how to live my life, I know how to be married, I know how to run a business, I know a lot of things not to do from failure, I know how to run. I was 1 business at one point, and then I was 2, and then I had a kid. I'm like, oh, how do I run a business with 1 kid? Like, how do I manage this? And I had to give up stuff. Like we had to hire more people because I couldn't do the things I was doing beforehand, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean, so I guess what I'm saying is delegation, but it's really not delegation. It's adapting to the circumstance, right? So now, which was the punch in the face and the kick to the growing, which was we had twins. And so we went from 1 to 3. I'm like, oh crap, that was really hard. Now I really don't have time. So I have enough money, but I have way less time than I have money. And it's not to say I have a lot of money, it's just I have literally no time to the point where I have to plan my poops, right? When you have to plan your poop, that means you don't have enough time in life, right? And so really it became all about hiring people. And it became all about really thinking about, again, going back to how I'm able to run multiple businesses is picking the right things, right? So like, measuring twice, doing once. So for example, I will come up with 15 variations of a marketing plan before I execute one of them. Because I will work out some of the numbers. I will do the research on like, okay, I'm going to go invest in XYZ advertising platforms, right? YouTube, LinkedIn, Google ads, whatever, Facebook ads. I'll go look at the CPCs, look at the competitors, try to understand the click-through rates, and do the math of how much it's going to cost me to acquire a customer. If most of them will not work out at that mathematical point, on a spreadsheet, therefore I stop doing it. It's the same thing for having kids in life, and with that you have to be a little bit more like choose where you want to be present and where you want to be not absent, but like what you want. So my wife and I decided we're going to be active parents, and we try to do crazy shit to try to teach them how to be entrepreneurs too. And their oldest one is 2, so like we have a long ways to go, but we try to spend time with them and teach them good values and all those things. And so, but we have to choose like, okay, who's going to do morning duty? Does that mean morning duty? That means I can go to the gym or whatever. So I would say trying to be healthy and exercise daily, eat healthy, run a business and have a family, that all is really hard. And it really takes deliberate effort and conscious, there's no watching TV and hanging out in my life lately.
Is that a bad thing or a good thing?
Bad thing. Because what it really comes down to is like, there's not really downtime. There's only like doing stuff, and then there is downtime. Don't get me wrong, I'm not a machine. But it's an hour. And 3 years ago, it was like 4 hours, 5 hours. So like my time has just kind of gotten a lot smaller, which has forced me to think about what do I want to do in that hour. Right? So like I used to watch a lot of TV, and I still read books because I'm an early riser, and I just kind of read a book or like read a couple blog posts or watch a video or whatever. But now I'm like, no, I've got 30 minutes. What newsletter, what blog post, what are the things what am I going to tee up to read that day? So now I use Pocket, I started using Kindle more and Audible, and I'm like, all right, here's the books I'm going to read for the next 6 months. That's it. Like that new stuff can come in, it might change the order, but like I'm very deliberate, like I'm going to learn these things this year. So it requires a lot of planning and conscious effort.
Dang. Wow. 3 kids. Wow.
Yeah, it's hard.
Like I remember a few years ago, you had some sort of happy hour at some whatever place downtown, and I remember you saying that you were planning on hiring yourself out.
Yeah,
and it sounds like you did that.
Yeah, and so now I'm like at MailShake. We just hired a VP of marketing. Now she's been there like maybe 6 weeks. Completely trust her already, so that's good. I'll be out of marketing day to day in like another month. But the role I'm in now is I'm going into his product. I'm kind of serving as a VP of product, and I'm giving myself 6 months to get the heck out of that role too. So hiring people that are smarter, better, more specialized is really what we do. As a founder, as like an entrepreneur, we're kind of good. I would say everyone's pretty good at figuring shit out, right? I think a human being can go from zero to learning something with just Google. Like I remember when I was 18, 19 in college, this was in 2001, the internet, fairly new-ish, and I just Googled how to surf. Literally, I just Googled how to surf, and then I went and bought a surfboard, and I went on the water, and I learned to surf, I don't know, like in 3 sessions by myself. I could figure shit out, but I'll never be a pro surfer. That requires a lot of training. So I go into roles that like nobody wants to do or can't do, or maybe have a little bit of experience doing, or I can figure out by talking to 5 smart people, reading a book or 2.
Cool. And then last question, what kind of dope ass cars do you have right now?
Right now I've got a McLaren 600 LT. I've got a Tesla Model 3 Performance, which is really fast. That's what we lug around the kids in, and a BMW M2.
M2?
Yeah. So
what about motorcycles?
I actually just sold all my motorcycles. I had a bunch of them. I got in a crash a year and a half ago, and was at the racetrack. It was not even a minor thing. I was able to ride the same day, but what happened was a minor injury that went unnoticed and caused a major problem. So I had to get shoulder surgery, and I'm still like 7 months later recovering from it.
I'm sure with 3 young kids, that's probably not a ideal thing.
The fun on the investment is not there. So I look at FOI on a lot of these things, fun on investment, and it's just like right? And so it's just not worth the time and money. And I realize I'm just never going to be Valentino Rossi. You references, he's a pro.
I actually know who that is. I do watch motorcycle videos all the time.
So look, I think, and like I was actually, before COVID hit, I was good, and before we found out we were having twins, I just got my amateur racing license to go do amateur racing this year. And I was like, ouch, my shoulder hurts. And because I heard it and I kept working out. And that simple, small thing caused like a bunch of tears and like, a year and a half recovery.
Well, sweet, man. I mean, I think your life is actually like pretty inspiring. Like looking at it you're in it every day, so you probably don't think about it. Yeah. But I think like of a lot of people, there's certain people like Syed Belki. I was just like, I would like to be that guy.
Yeah.
Like, there's not many people want to be like, It's just like he makes a ton of money. People don't really like, he's known enough, but like he has no reason to flaunt or anything like that. He's actually like the real deal. Yeah. Has a good life, smiling all the time. Family. Yeah. It's awesome.
There's a few people like that in the world, and it's amazing.
Sweet. Well, thanks for taking out time from your busy schedule. If you want to schedule a poop later, that's, we can fit you in. Yeah,
I've got one in 30 minutes. Scheduled.
Awesome. Sujan Patel, thank you so much. How can people find you, follow you, all that stuff?
Just head over to sujanpatel.com. Usually has what I'm doing, what I figured out the hard way.
All right, sweet. sujanpatel.com. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Hey, it's Neville. I hope you enjoyed that video as much as I did. Now, who do you think we should interview Who do you think we should interview next? Leave it in the comments. Tell us. Let us know. Or if you want to see a video about a specific topic, leave it in the comments. Let us know. That's how we know what to make, from what's fun for us and also what's good for you. So if you tell us, we'll probably make it. So go ahead, leave us a comment. Hopefully you liked the video. Hopefully you subscribe, and I'll see you soon.